How's it going, everybody? This is Blister coming at you with another classic WoW video. Today I got a special guest. I got Novapunk in the house, and today we're going to be talking about our top 5 reasons why we're excited for classic WoW. So Novapunk and I both have some pretty good experience when it comes to classic WoW. Some of us may remember more stuff than others, but we both played it for a decent amount of time. Most of Novapunk's experience was in PvP. I had a lot of PvE experience. I dabbled in PvP, but not nearly as much as Nova did. And together we came up with this list to try and help other people get excited for what we're excited about when it comes to classic WoW.
Well, thanks for having me. This is Nova. And you didn't PvP because you played the Alliance.
Yeah, well, that's not completely wrong. I mean, every time I PvP'd, it felt like we would lose, so I just kind of tried to stay out of the way.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that later, but kicking this off, I think, is one of the major elements that I've been personally wanting back in any MMO playing and really looking for it. And I know we've talked about this in multiple videos in the past, and that's the community. And again, just to cover this, we aren't talking about toxic communities or not toxic communities.
It's going to have both, right? You're going to have some toxic people. You're going to have some people that aren't toxic. But, I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. It doesn't matter, really.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're talking about here is actually a community in the server. And it's not something you're going to find in any MMO out there right now unless you boot up a private server. The game is centered around interacting with other players because it is supposed to be a massive multiplayer online RPG. So you're supposed to run into other people, talk to other people, group up with other people, and the community and the game was just designed to be around that community feel.
Yeah, when you are doing that, when you're running around in the world, you're running through Elwyn, you're running through the Barrens, you're running through wherever it may be, and you're grouping up with people to do quests, you're making connections, you're making friends, you're making potentially lifelong friends. Like, Nova and I have friends that we made from these games from way back in the day. We have other friends that we're still talking to that we play games with every night almost, from old school games when there was actually communities in games. So the community aspect is huge, and it's going to be a huge factor in whether or not this game is going to be popular or not.
Oh, for sure. And I think we see some other games coming out soon-ish that they're trying to emulate that whole feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to, recreate the community feel because they feel like this is what players want, and people are screaming out for it. We've got Ashes of Creation, which is trying to build a node system, which will be sort of a community-focused thing. And then we got Pantheon Rise of the Fallen, which is going straight hardcore into the kind of the classic WoW template, I think.
Yeah, I haven't done enough research on Pantheon to know enough of whether it's going to be a full kind of like clone of Classic, but it definitely seems like it's going down at least the old school MMO road where it's going to be not hand-holding. You're going to have to actually go out there and group up with people. You can't solo through 99% of the content.
Try not to beat that horse too much. We'll move on to point number 2, which is the RPG elements of games.
Yeah, I think specifically for me, it's going to be like the things like the resistances and weapon skills. Like you don't see those kind of things in games anymore, especially MMOs anymore, where you have to go and you have to train up your two-handed axe skill to be able to be proficient in that weapon. Like you'll see some games have resistances like Dark Souls. Again, Dark Souls has resistances depending on your gear, depending on your stats and stuff like that. But MMOs in general don't really have that. I know Diablo has that, but I don't really consider Diablo an MMO. I know some people do, but I don't. And it's just going to be great to see that kind of stuff again because it belongs in an MMO. It belongs in this type of MMO where it's really an RPG, because those are all RPG elements that you need to make a game great, and they've just been lost for so long.
Yeah, they're making a comeback in single-player side too. I think we see games like The Witcher 3 that was really RPG focused, had all that kind of stuff in it, had different weapons and all that stuff. And I think we're gonna see a comeback in the MMO side too, and I'm excited for Classic WoW to bring these back. It's gonna be really the first MMO coming out to bring this old systems back, you know. And it's cool that you get different resistances and different builds, and you got to actually think about how you're setting up your character before you go into an encounter to see or to try to be the most successful you can be.
And I think talking about that customization, it kind of leads into our next point, which is actually the class customization and talent system. For me, the talent system is a big part of the class customization because, you know, the gear aspect isn't really that strong once you get to raiding, because it's you just want tier 1, 2, 3, whatever raid you may be doing. But that doesn't mean that there aren't pieces of gear to go after if you're doing one of those weird specs. Like if you're a shaman who wants to tank, you're not necessarily going to go after the tier set. You're going to go after those individual non-tier epics that are going to give you like the hunter type stats that you need, but with some defense. Those are the kind of things that we're talking about here. And the talent system itself is just going to break open a lot of doors for other MMOs to start using that kind of stuff again, because it's really missing that kind of customization from MMOs today.
I agree 100%. I actually just spoke about it last week, I think, in my Final Fantasy 14 video, that I hate that every class is cookie cutter and the same. Every bard is the same as every other bard.
Talking about cookie cutter, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, you're getting your talent systems back, but you're going to still use the cookie cutter build to min-max. For the most part, yes, that's true, but you're still going to have like 5 to 7 talents, depending on what build you are, to put wherever you want. And those 5 to 7 points are going to be different between every single player. Some people are going to put 1 here, 1 here, 1 there. Some people are going to stack up 5 here. It's not going to have an outcome on your DPS or your HPS or your sustainability, but it's going to make you feel like you have your own special class, your own special customization, your own talents that's different from everybody else.
Oh, for sure. There was always some points. It depends on the class and the build, of course. Some of them, I think, had even more room than 4 or 5 points to kind of flex around, and you could kind of specialize a little bit how you wanted, which allowed you to almost try to find certain gear to, you know, kind of buff those stats or those skills even more. It was kind of, it's a cool system. I miss it. I'm excited to get it back.
Coming down to our 4th point is the factions. Now, we both are well aware that factions exist in Battle for Azeroth, and they have never gone anywhere. But it feels like factions don't mean as much as they used to. You can play Horde and Alliance.
I thought there was only one faction, though. Just the Horde. That's all that existed.
Well, for some of us, there's always been 2 factions. Some of us like to play both Horde and Alliance on retail right now. But that's kind of my point, is people don't care about faction pride anymore, except for Novapunk over here, because he's just a baller.
I also don't play current WoW, so...
You haven't played since, what, maybe very early Burning Crusade?
I played WOD a little bit with you, but...
Oh, that's true, yeah, I forgot about that. But I made you play Alliance, so you probably hated it the whole time.
It didn't matter at that point, though. It's weird. Like, we're gonna... That's what you were getting at, so...
So yeah, factions really don't seem like they're that important anymore, and they kind of keep on getting muddied down. In Legion, it felt like that very much so, because we were both fighting towards one common goal, where we're taking down Sargeras and defeating the Burning Legion. The same can be said with Mr. Pandaria, when we were both fighting to try and take down Garrosh, both the Alliance and the Horde. We had the same goals. So it really feels like the factions aren't a big deal anymore, and people like myself, I have multiple characters on Horde, I have multiple characters on the Alliance, I play both of them, I have multiple tunes at cap on both sides. It really doesn't matter anymore. Factions are kind of... They're just kind of there now. Like, you don't even see the opposing faction that much when you go out into the world.
That's because the game systems are designed to not have you out in the world for the most part. And I think the community, which is the biggest thing that we keep pointing out, I think, but I think that helps drive the faction. Creates a little bit of faction warfare, a little bit of tension, creates some memorable moments that aren't built into the game. They're just going to happen, and then you're going to stick in your brain.
Right.
I think that whole thing just makes this faction exist again. And something that I remember being cool is just going out to, I don't know, go to the store or something, and you see somebody with a Horde hoodie and it'd be like, oh, hey, man, I play the Horde too. And you definitely don't see that in games too much anymore.
I mean, that kind of, yeah, so large scale encounters, and we're talking both world PvP and raids. And like we were saying, guild versus guild combat, so much fun. So memorable, and it can take hours and hours to do. And not only just world PvP, you get the Altaric Valleys that last multiple days. That I've heard stories of Altaric Valleys lasting weeks, just because there is none of this resource crap that retail has. And the Horde will turtle and turtle and turtle, and then all of a sudden they'll start to push, and then the Alliance will turtle, and it just goes back and forth. And then, I mean, I've been in those for like 3 hours and it not end, and I'm just like, all right, I gotta go do something else for a little bit.
But it was fun for that 3 hours.
Oh, it was amazing. Even just getting up to the front lines and like the bridge in front of the Horde base, just like sitting there fighting the Horde for hours on end, just in that one spot. And you run out of mana, you have to feign death, you got to drink, and just doing that over and over and over and over for hours on end. It was so entertaining. It was so much fun. And that kind of large-scale encounters, I'm really, really looking forward to. The 40-man raids, it's going to be awesome. I know a lot of people saying, oh, it's too easy now because of all the stuff that Blizzard does in current raids. It's just going to be awesome to have 40 people there that you're relying on all of them to help you, and you're helping them. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I just find it interesting that all these, I'm talking back to the world PvP stuff, like the guild versus guild stuff. That was so interesting and so fun that games started to try to emulate it. Like Guild Wars 2 has tried to emulate it with a world versus world and server versus server, whatever it is. But those moments were not created by Blizzard. Those were created by the players.
Exactly. Like Blizzard didn't entice people to go out to South Shore and battle each other. They didn't entice people to go, well, I mean, they kind of enticed people to go to the raids, but they didn't entice them to go to the raids and then start fighting each other. So, I mean, it's awesome. Oh, and by the way, play on a PvP server. Don't play on PvE. PvP is the only type of server there is. Okay?
I have to concur, just because it creates a little bit of scariness in the world, more so than you get on PvE.
Those RPG elements we were talking about, all of a sudden there's more of them there. That community, it's there. These large-scale combat situations, they're there. Your faction pride, it's there. Almost everything we just talked about. If you go on a PvP server, these things are going to be more prevalent during your time playing the game.
Oh, for sure. It's going to just make the game a whole lot more fun. And just think, when you get to level 60, you can go pick on some lobies on the other faction.
It's always fun to gank some lobies, right?
Once in a while, until they start bringing friends.
And then you have to corpse run all the way back to Orgrimmar.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's about wraps this up. Those are our 5 reasons why we're super excited for Classic WoW to come out. We want to know from you guys, though, if you have played Classic, or even if you haven't played Classic, what are the top 5 things that you're looking forward to most when Classic is released? As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, shoot some comments below. We're interested in your thoughts. Thanks for having me for a Classic WoW Friday. Have a good one, guys.
Hey, it's Radit here. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe as well. It really helps out the channel. We put out multiple new videos each week, and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks for watching, everyone, and cheers.